On the harrowing day of September 11, 2001, the world witnessed an unimaginable tragedy unfold as the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center crumbled, leaving the nation in shock and mourning. Amidst the chaos and devastation, a remarkable force of bravery emerged. The courageous dogs who became heroes of Ground Zero alongside their handlers, firefighters, and police force. Although 9/11 was a moment when many people first became familiar with search and rescue dogs, these dogs are trained to find missing people, including survivors buried in rubble from earthquakes and building collapses. Some dogs, cadaver dogs, are also able to find the presence of remains to bring a small amount of comfort and closure to families and loved ones as they did in 9/11. This video will give you a sense of what they did on that day and throughout the weeks in the aftermath. Near the end of this video, you will also witness the story of a brave dog named Roselle, who helped her blind owner out of the building just before it collapsed. If you find value in this video, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below about the bravery of these dogs. On the day of 9/11, handlers from across the nation converged at Ground Zero. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, coordinated these efforts, deploying its 28 teams specialized in such crises. At Ground Zero, the handlers and their dogs were divided into two teams, one for day shifts and one for evening shifts, to maintain a continuous presence in the search and rescue operations. Often, these shifts extended to 16 hours straight, with handlers and dogs alike tirelessly working amidst the rubble. Additionally, other agencies, including policemen and their dogs, were also assisting in the efforts. The nature of the rescue efforts posed significant challenges, resulting in injuries to both handlers and dogs. These injuries ranged from minor cuts and abrasions to more serious conditions, such as respiratory issues from inhaling dust and debris or strains and sprains from navigating unstable terrain. To address these concerns, veterinarians stood by to provide immediate medical attention to the dogs, ensuring their well-being amidst the demanding rescue efforts. The bigger challenge was the frustration of searching for hours and not finding anyone. When the dogs began to get discouraged and lose their motivation to search, handlers had to stage mock finds so the dogs could feel successful. There were a few remarkable dogs that captured the world's attention with their bravery and dedication. Here are a few whose stories resonated in the media spotlight. Apollo, a graduate of the NYPD Canine Special Operations Division, served as an NYC police dog in the 1990s. He and his handler, Peter Davis, were the first search and rescue team to arrive at the World Trade Center. Within 15 minutes of the South Tower's collapse, Apollo spent weeks tirelessly searching the rubble piles. For his dedication, Apollo earned both the Dickin Medal and the AKC Humane Fund Award for Canine Excellence. Tracker, a retired German Shepherd police dog from Nova Scotia, accompanied his handler, Canadian police officer James Symington, to New York City to assist in the rescue efforts. Despite his retirement, Tracker tirelessly searched through the rubble of the World Trade Center. After 27 hours of relentless searching, Tracker made a remarkable discovery. He found the last surviving victim buried in the debris. This heroic act earned Tracker widespread recognition and praise for his invaluable contribution to the rescue mission. During the rescue efforts, his handler officer James Symington faced suspension from his job for leaving without permission to aid in the rescue efforts. However, when authorities saw him on television alongside Tracker, they understood the reasoning behind his actions and reinstated him. Despite the initial setback, James' dedication to the rescue mission alongside Tracker's invaluable assistance was ultimately recognized. Tracker's remarkable story didn't end there. Before his passing, his DNA was collected and he was successfully cloned, resulting in the birth of 5 cloned puppies. Riley, a 4-year-old golden retriever, was a member of FEMA's Pennsylvania Task Force, searched deep into the debris fields and helped locate the deceased bodies of several firefighters. This photo is of Riley being transported over the rubble to be able to access other areas of the rubble that no one could get to. It's one of the most iconic images of the 9/11 search dogs. Although Riley was not trained to find human remains, Riley rose to the challenges of the job and provided encouragement to first responders. Ricky, a 17-inch tall rat terrier, was able to squeeze into tight spaces where other dogs and responders were unable to. Britannia was a golden retriever search and rescue dog known as the last surviving 9/11 search dog before passing away in 2016. She, alongside her handler Denise Corliss, worked at Ground Zero in the aftermath of the attacks. Britannia spent days searching for survivors and also providing comfort to rescue workers. There are so many dogs and their handlers that also spent weeks finding remains of loved ones, such as Max, Bella, Rocky, Luna, Thunder, Kaiser, Scout, Mickey, and many others, who were deployed to Ground Zero. These 4-legged heroes, trained for moments of crisis, fearlessly ventured into the rubble, guided by their handlers and surrounded by the first responders. The only dog known to have died on 9/11 was Sirius, a yellow Labrador that worked below the South Tower with his handler, Port Authority Police Lieutenant David Lim. Sirius was an explosive detection dog, and his responsibilities, along with his handler David Lim, included inspecting vehicles for explosives that entered the World Trade Center. On 9/11, David felt a violent shake in the tower, then received a radio call for all units to respond. He secured Sirius in his kennel, saying, "You stay here, I'll come back and I'll get you." David then rushed over to the North Tower, unaware that American Airlines Flight 11 had crashed into the building dozens of floors above him. He headed upstairs to help direct people down towards safety. He was on the 44th floor when he saw, through the windows, another plane crashing into the South Tower, sending what he described as a fireball toward the windows, knocking him and others backwards. While assisting in rescue operations, the tower he was in collapsed. David, along with a grandmother and firefighters from Ladder Company 6, became trapped in his stairwell for several hours. Once freed, his first instinct was to find Sirius. But to his dismay, all he saw was a huge mangled rubble where the South Tower was supposed to be. He was then rushed into an ambulance and brought to St. Vincent's Hospital for treatment of injuries he had sustained from the collapse. Unfortunately, Sirius was not as lucky as David. His remains were recovered in the winter of 2002. Sirius was ceremoniously removed from Ground Zero with a full honor guard, in a manner befitting a hard-working member of the PAPD. Prepare to be inspired by the incredible story of Roselle, the heroic guide dog who led her blind owner to safety just before the building's collapse. This captivating tale highlights the extraordinary bravery not only of Roselle and her owner, but also of the first responders and countless others who played a vital role in this unforgettable moment of courage and bravery. Michael Higson was a man who achieved a great deal in his life. He was a regional sales manager and head of operations for a Fortune 500 company, a position of immense responsibility. But what made this story truly remarkable was that Michael was blind. Michael was born premature and had been blind since birth, but he never felt handicapped. He landed a sales management job at the World Trade Center as a seasoned salesman. He knew the importance of familiarizing himself with the environment and memorizing emergency exits and fire safety routes. On the morning of the 11th of September 2001, Michael Higson, accompanied by his guide dog Roselle and his colleague David Frank, came in early to prepare as they were hosting a seminar in the offices. However, the cairn was shattered. A thunderous boom shook the building. American Airlines Flight 11 had struck their tower, cutting through floors 93 through 99, 18 floors above theirs at a speed of 500 miles per hour. It was an instant inferno. Michael's colleague David saw flames and a large amount of smoke from the office window. Debris rained down in front of the glass, and David became increasingly frantic, screaming, "Oh my God, there's fire and smoke above us. We need to get out of here right now." Michael was initially reluctant to move quickly as Roselle sensed no immediate danger and remained calm, wagging her tail and yawning. This reassured Michael, who thought they could evacuate in an orderly fashion. Michael and David led their guests to the staircase. They quickly returned to the office to make sure no one was left behind, and then making their way down the 1,004 steps to safety. They were among the few who made it out because they were below where the plane hit. The building swayed, causing the stairs to move and shake as they made their way down. As they descended the stairs, Michael's thoughts turned to the possibility that they might not make it out alive. But then he heard a voice in his head telling him to focus on Roselle, comfort her with encouraging words, and not worry about what he couldn't control. This voice gave him a sense of peace and conviction that they will make it out together. Roselle must have felt very scared, sensing the panic in people's voices and faces. Also, her great sense of smell whiffing up the strong smoke of jet fuel and smoke. As they were making their way down the stairs, they crossed paths with the firemen heading upstairs to battle the blaze overhead. Despite the grim circumstances, Roselle received plenty of affectionate pats and smiles from the firefighters as they hurried by. Sadly, these fleeting moments of happiness were likely to be their final ones. Michael maintained a strong grip on Roselle's harness and gave her good, solid commands to help her remain focused. He praised her, telling her she was doing a great job, and this helped others who saw him take charge of the situation. They were comforted by his confident demeanor, and it inspired them to keep moving forward. As they descended, Michael's colleague David began to feel anxious, doubting whether they would make it out. Michael, however, refused to let fear overtake him and told David that if he and Roselle could go down the stairs, so could David. From then on, David walked one floor ahead, sharing what he saw with the group, and also giving them hope and motivation. The stairs seemed endless and their legs grew weary as they descended, but they pressed on, determined to make it out alive. People were slowing down, trying to conserve their energy. Michael, David, Roselle, and others finally emerged into the main lobby where the officials were frantically shouting into baubles, urging people not to exit the doors in front of them due to the deadly rain of debris and falling bodies. Michael and his group obeyed the commands, determined to escape the horror. The air was thick with panic and fear. Suddenly, Michael heard a thunderous rumble that resembled the overpowering sound of a freight train colliding with the forceful cascade of a waterfall. A police officer raced past them, screaming at the top of his lungs for them to flee as the South Tower was crumbling into dust and rubble. Michael, Roselle, David, and his group ran blindly through the thick cloud of dirt and debris, struggling to breathe as they fought to escape the crumbling tower. The terror was suffocating, and Michael could feel the dust and debris invading his lungs and throat. Roselle led Michael to the safety of the subway station. As they reached the subway, Roselle stood firm at the top of the flight of stairs leading down to the subway station, not sure if it would lead to further danger. However, Michael's hand brushed against the rail. He called out to Roselle to continue down the stairs. They ended up making their way down the stairs, and Michael could finally breathe again. After a while, they made their way up to the streets, but the relief was short-lived as they heard the familiar rumble like the sound of an approaching avalanche. This time it was their tower, the North Tower, collapsing into a shower of concrete and steel. The ground shook, and Michael could barely believe they survived. David looked up and said, "Oh my God, Mike, there's no World Trade Center anymore. All I see are pillars of smoke hundreds of feet tall." After finally returning home, Michael turned on the radio, and that was the first time he actually found out that the planes hit the towers. He was in shock and in disbelief. Roselle, however, immediately grabbed her favorite toys and wanted to play as if nothing had happened. 2 years later, Roselle was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease that affected blood platelets. Michael believes the toxic air conditions that she faced helping him escape 9/11 caused her condition, but that's up for debate. Unfortunately, Roselle died on June 26, 2011. Michael and his wife, Karen, were by her side when she passed. They were totally heartbroken. Very sad news for everyone who knew her incredible story of bravery, loyalty, and courage. If you found value in this video, I'm sure you'll enjoy the true story featured on this end screen. Until next time, bye for now.